so I'd like to share a few things with you about leadership that I think would apply in whatever you're doing. I call them the 3 A's of leadership, okay? The first A is agility. I know, don't walk, I'm not physically agile as I used to be, but I'm mentally and motivationally agile. Agility is the ability, like a quarterback. There's going to be 2 big football games today, and Mahomes, I'm not saying I'm for any of them, right? So don't be booing or, but Mahomes is pretty damn good, all right? And so agility is the ability, like he'll go to the line, he'll see something that the play is not going to work, and he'll call it audible. You know, I'm a Chicago Bears fan. We don't do that, all right? We just don't like it. Yeah, we like to lose.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't know why, but you see it, I'm still going to run it, and I'm going to get my ass kicked. Or a point guard coming down the court, and he's supposed to run a play, I said, but he sees something better, and he doesn't. Agility. But agility won't work without the second A, and that's adaptability. Adaptability, obviously you have to continue to adapt in technology, different regulations, what the government is doing, and all that. Obviously you need to do that. The adaptability that I'm talking about is communication. Like God's been good to me. I'm going to be 78 years old next month. I've lived an amazing life, you know. But one way he or she, depending on who God is, probably both, I always got older, and the guys I coached stayed the same age. You know, how the hell did that happen? That's not fair, you know. And so I never adjusted in my values, because trust, courage, duty, loyalty, they stay the same. They never change. How do you teach them? How do you get them to be a part of the culture that you are responsible for right now? And so communication is the key. You know, it's up to you as the leader to get your message across. So I'll just point someone out. Are you a married couple? Okay. What's your name?
Christina and Rob.
Christina. I'm not talking to you, Rob. All right. I have 3 daughters and a wife. I know who to talk to. So, Christina, do you guys have kids?
Yes.
Okay. So it'd be cool, like if you're on my team. Rob, you're not on my team. All right. Christina's on my team, and your son or daughter had a big game, there's a birthday, we'll put Rob back in, your anniversary, all right? And it's cool if I know that, right? Just like in all the employees that you have, it's cool that you know something about them. But what if we were thinking of doing something a little bit new in the dealership, okay? And I went up to you and I said, you know, what do you think about what we're going to do? Or, as we're doing it, I ask you, how do you feel about what we're going to do? Different, right? Really different. Okay, and where does it hit you? It hits you here and here. And so you own it. And part of communication is not just giving information, it's creating the environment where people own it. Now, you tell me that, and if we develop a habit of doing that, that's really good, because then I won't have to ask you, okay? So a really good leader sometimes is referred to somebody who can solve problems. I agree with that. But a great leader is somebody who doesn't have the problem. And a lot of times, with having that level of communication, you can anticipate. You'll see something that I didn't see, because a leader doesn't see everything. But if everyone owns it and we have that level of communication, we can anticipate, or we can get an idea, because everyone's important on the team, from somebody that's not a so-called leader or whatever. But you're part, you own it. And so communication is important. So we have agility, adaptability. The third A is not alive and well. It's called accountability. Okay? And in our world today, I don't know why people don't like to hold each other accountable. I think COVID had a lot to do with that, where we stopped looking each other in the eye. Okay? And accountability is really telling the truth face to face. Like, I can look at you and say, man, I love your outfit, man. And it's cool, so it's good. But I can also say, you know, your shoes suck. And they don't, you know, and you wouldn't put it that way necessarily. But really, not everything you talk about is good, or at that moment. But if you talk about it, you can make it good. And so having that level of accountability, but it's difficult. Like my middle daughter, Lindy, is the dean of students at our local high school, Durham Academy. This spring, Jimmy and his mother come in to see my daughter, Lindy, and Jimmy's teacher. Jimmy got a C in his final exam. So Mrs. Jimmy comes in and she says, "What's wrong with you people? How can Jimmy get a C? What are you doing?" And my daughter's not going to take any of that crap. Right? There's no way, no way, no way. She says, "Listen, Mrs. Jimmy, Jimmy took the damn test. You know, Jimmy's responsible for the C. Now, if he's willing to work, we can help him get it to a B or an A, if you take responsibility, okay?" And so the toughest accountability I've ever experienced is the Beijing Olympics, 2008. It was, they have a documentary called The Redeem Team. That was our first Olympic gold medal. And we had great players. LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, all these guys. And we're agile, we're adaptable, and we're in Shanghai. And we're playing our last exhibition game before going to Beijing. We're playing Australia. And during the game, Kobe, who is the best player in the world at that time, maybe ever, at least he's in that room. And he started taking Laker shots, not US shots. They were bad shots, all right? Nothing against the Lakers now, they won last night, but bad shots. And he's taking them, and I'm sitting there, and LeBron James is on the court, and there's a free throw going on. He looks at me because there's gonna be a mutiny. He knows they're bad shots. And he looks at me like, "What are you gonna do?" And I said, "Don't do anything, I'll take care of it." And that level of talent and whatever, they look at you more than once. And he looks again, and I said, "Trust me." That night I stayed up all night with my staff. I'm not exaggerating. I was gonna have to hold the best player in the world accountable. So we did tape of shots. The next morning came, I see Kobe, I said, "Kobe, I need to meet with you." He said, "Of course." And so we go into a team room, and I look at him, he's got these piercing, beautiful eyes. He's really one of the great athletes of all time. And I said, "Look, you took crappy shots yesterday. If you take those shots, we won't win the gold medal. We won't medal, we won't have a team. It's not gonna happen." Then I showed him the shots, and then I look at him, and that's that moment, you know, the eye-to-eye contact, and you're worried about World War III, right? What's gonna happen? And I look and I said, "You understand you can't take those shots?" And he looks at me and he says, "Okay." And my heart dropped. And I thought real quick, I stayed up all night for okay. You know, is that it? You know, aren't we gonna fight here, or what are we gonna do? So I'm like, LeBron, I need to ask him again. You sure? He says, Coach, I won't take those shots. Fast forward 3.5 weeks later, we're in the toughest game I've ever been a part of my whole career. The Beijing Olympic, the gold medal game against Spain. And we're playing the Gasols, and it's a tough game. It's a 2-point game with 8 minutes. We call a timeout, side out of bounds by our basket. And you can feel the tension. You could cut it in the arena. My 3 daughters and my wife are like this. You know, they're hunkered down. It's a good thing I didn't look at them at that point. And so I sit down and I'm starting to draw up a play. And as I'm drawing it up, the hand of the guy I held accountable comes on mine. It's one of the great moments for me. It's Kobe. And he looks at me, he says, Coach, we don't need a play. Yeah, we're ready for this. We've been trained for this. We want to be in this right now. This is our time. This is going to be our moment. I get chills thinking about it, because then LeBron James said something. Dwayne Wade says something. Carmelo says something. And we leave the damn bench without a play. But I forgot to tell you, there's a 4th A. And the 4th A, we left the bench with a winning attitude. Yeah. And so, in having a winning attitude, maybe that play would have worked or not worked. But instead, we made play after play after play, because they owned it, and we had held accountable, we were adaptable and agile, and we won the gold medal. What I'm saying to you is, the stuff that I've just said about the 3 A's and then the 4th one, you know what? They don't cost any money. It's all people stuff. And all the exhibits that you have and all the things that you've seen, they're all huge. They're not as important as your people. Your people are the single biggest resource for that. Now, when you're putting your team together, like when we had that Olympic team, I get them all in, the first night, and maybe when you go back, you get your team together and you talk about the things you've learned, but also there has to be common ground where everyone owns it. Yeah, that's the teams and the organizations where people own it. In other words, they don't work for, they are. Like, I am whatever. I don't work for. And you can't just assume, even if you've had it already, that it continues to happen. So we have what we call standards meetings. And we had a standard meeting that night with our team. And it's a little bit daunting. You get these 12 stud guys coming in, and you're there. And the very first thing I said to them, I said, I want you to bring all your egos in. Like, I don't want any of you not being you. I don't believe in that expression, leave your egos at the door. Yeah, bring it all in, I said, but put it under one USA leadership umbrella, and we'll win the world. I would suggest the same for you. Bring everything. By the way, Kobe and LeBron were going to bring their damn egos in anyway. You know? Come on, you're coming anyway. Might as well get you under this umbrella. And then I told him, I said, remember, you're not playing for the United States. We won't win unless you are United States basketball. You own it. And so you have common ground. And I want you not just to hear and see what we're doing. I want you to feel what we're doing. And so that's why that why is important. Every once in a while for your team to understand why they're doing something. So we had this meeting, I'll go back to it, but after the meeting I said, I want you guys, when we're at the Wynn in Las Vegas, okay? It helps us in recruiting, you know? It's a good place. And I said, when you go up to your suites, I want you to be 16 for a minute. And I want you to look on your beds. And on their beds, we laid their Olympic uniforms. Okay? Later that night, I was doing a service for the win. I was checking to see if their video poker machines were working. And they were not. And there's one that really wasn't working, and I was steadfast that I was going to make it work. Being an idiot, you know. And all of a sudden, I get a tap on my, it's a true story. I get a, including about the video poker machine. Yeah, there's a tap on my shoulder, and it's Kobe Bryant. And I said, what's up? He said, Coach, I did what you asked me to do. And I said, what happened? He said, I cried. And from that point on, I knew I've got these guys. And then we had them interact with the military. We had wounded warriors come in to learn about selfless service. We took them to military installations. And what I'm saying is, I do that with my Duke basketball team or whatever. They have to feel what they're doing. It has to penetrate their heart. You know, if they're only coming to work and working for you, they're only seeing and doing, we're not going to be at optimal. They have to feel it. And so standards are important. Two of the standards, they're just the standards, the way you do things all the time. You require other people to do them all the time. I'm not a rule guy. Going to West Point, we had this book of rules, and you either obey them or disobey them. You don't own them. A standard you own. So two of my standards are, since I was 28 years old and the West Point coach, when we talk to each other, we look each other in the eye. The second standard is we tell each other the truth in a moment. And what develops then is one of our values, which is trust, okay? And for you, that's not just with your employees, that's with the people you serve, you know, because it's relationship building. Look each other in the eye and tell each other the truth. And then, you know, I'm concerned about how fast the player can run, how fast my team can move on the court. You're concerned about how fast the vehicle can go and that. Those speeds are important. The most important speed that you can teach and train is the speed to trust, okay? When I look at you and say something to you, will you trust me right away? And will I trust you? That needs to be worked on all the time. And obviously, in the relationships you have with the people you serve, you've seen the benefits of that. You're always telling each other the truth. I can handle that. I'm sorry that this is, we're gonna take care of this. And they trust you. They trust you. And you on your team need to trust one another. That night we came up with standards like flexibility. We can handle every situation. Poise. Look strong all the time. You know, be on time. Have each other's back. Care for one another. And we went through and we had 14 standards. And the only guy who didn't contribute was LeBron James. So I'm saying, okay, he's punking me maybe, but I got 14. I'm beating you 14 to nothing, knucklehead. And I got you. And that, you don't say that out loud, all right? But as a leader, you're thinking, right? Because you're thinking. And all of a sudden, LeBron James's hand goes up. God is good, man. We got, every guy said something. And he was eloquent. We always had a picture of the gold medal up. And he said, Coach, I dreamed of winning a gold medal. I've dreamed of playing with Kobe, Carmelo, Dwayne, Chris Paul. I dreamed of doing that. You know what? We're the best in the world. We need to show that we're the best in the world and win the gold medal. Again, I get chills thinking about these things because they're unbelievable moments. And then he said, Coach, all you guys, my standard and our standard needs to be no excuses. Then he pointed to each player and he said, Carmelo, you understand? No excuse. Kobe, Coach, no excuses. And that became our first standard, okay? And for every U.S. team and for every Duke team that I coached, our first standard was no excuses. Actually, I learned that as a freshman, a plebe at West Point. You had 3 answers. Yes, sir, no, sir, and no excuse, sir. You couldn't say, well, you don't understand. Like, what? They'd kill you, you know. So you got rid of beggar's hands right away. That was, you know, no excuse, sir. And you wanted to say, like, you're an idiot. I do have an excuse, but I can't say it. And what happens then, when that becomes a standard, you think solution-oriented. You don't think of something bad that's happening, something could happen. You think, this is how we're going to get it done. Solution-oriented. And from your standards, what develops are values. And look, you're not here as an industry without being a value-based industry. Like, value-based organizations, teams, families, they stand the test of time. They stand the test of time. And are you doing anything to reinforce the values that are inherent in what you're doing? Obviously, you've done it here. You've enjoyed things, but also you felt a sense of pride because all of you were committed. You made it through unbelievable circumstances to be here and whatever. And so celebrate your values. For me, with my Duke teams and with the U.S. teams, we had 7 values, and they never changed. How I taught them or tried to develop them changed, but the values never changed. The very first value is integrity. Come on, man. You know what's right. You know what's wrong. Do what's right. And make sure that everyone on your team is doing what's right. In other words, you see somebody not doing what's right, don't turn your head. Hold them accountable. Hold her accountable. Like, we don't do that here. No excuses. A lot of excuses start out with, and then the excuse, all right? So there's a stutter. A stutter because you should stutter because you're an idiot for making an excuse, all right? And so integrity, respect, everybody's important. For me, Celestina, who cleans our offices, I know her family. My mom, I grew up in inner city Chicago. She was a cleaning lady with an 8th grade education. She's the best person in my life. I learned so much from her, dignity of work, values, and whatever. Come on. I mean, Celestina doesn't know that? William, who cleans our floors, the people who service our kids and food, my assistant, our managers, our trainers. You know, I give them autonomy to be, when they speak, I speak. So they help teach my new kids, my team every year. They have an environment where people are held accountable and we have values. Everybody is important. And by the way, you might get an idea. I would go around, Sam and V feed our team, and I'd have breakfast every once in a while and say, Sam, V, what do you think? How are these guys? And Sam might say, you know, you really, something's wrong with John. I said, nothing's wrong with John. Said, Coach, did you hear me? Something's wrong with John. And then I look at that and something is wrong with John. In other words, if everyone owns it, they feel like it's theirs. And everyone's important. Sometimes the best idea can come from the most unusual place in your organization. All right? The third value is courage. To say or do what needs to be said at the moment it needs to be said. No hesitation. You're having a meeting, you want to say something, I'm not going to say it. I don't have the courage. And you walk out and you feel not good about yourself. But then we keep moving along with where we were instead of, if you said something, we would have changed. You know, we need to take care of things right away, man. Right away, right away. No hesitation. The fourth value is selfless service. Okay? The fifth is loyalty. Bear true faith and allegiance to your team. Okay, duty. Everybody should come to work and do their job. And if someone's not doing their job and you're with them, say, what's wrong? I need you. In other words, you're holding people accountable. You're not calling them an idiot or whatever. You're just saying, come on, man. That's part of our values. You know that. I got it. Thank you. Thank you. Make each other better. Like, everyone is weak at some point. A team doesn't have the luxury of being weak. So when you see weak, you take care of it right away at every level. And the last value is trust. So the last time we won a national championship, it's always nice to say the last time because that means there was another time. And the last time we won it, it was in 2015 and we're playing Wisconsin. Who's from Wisconsin here? Anybody? Okay, this is not to knock you or whatever. You know, they had a great team, Bo Ryan, they won 35 games, 2 years in a row. They could have won 2 national championships in a row. We're playing them in a national championship game. A month and a half before that, I had to dismiss a player on my team, and I only had 8 players on my team in like February 1st. I brought them in the morning, and I got them together, and I said, we're gonna win the national championship. And there used to be an old show called 8 is Enough, okay? That's really old, all right? But I started putting numbers on. I said, look at the number 1. Doesn't do anything. 4, what is 4 doing? 6 is crazy. Like 9 is 6 drunk, you know? And then I put the number 8 up. And I said, you see how it never stops? And then I drew it on its side, which is the sign of infinity. I said, that's gonna be us. Yeah, there aren't gonna be any weak links. We're gonna get this thing. Fast forward, we're playing really well, but Wisconsin's beating us in the second half. And I put the 8th player on my team, Grayson Allen, who now plays for the Phoenix Suns. He's a really good player. And he scores a couple buckets. Like, it makes me look good. In fact, the basketball gods are crazy. He's our 8th man. He scored 8 points that game. Okay? And then he makes a play that is one of the greatest plays in the history of our program, and it's a loose ball. Here's the free throw line. The other free throw line's there. There's a loose ball, and he's going for the loose ball, and he's fouled, but he continues to go, and he dives for the ball. I would dive right now, but my right hip would hit you. I'm not sure if the medical insurance that we have here. But anyway, he dives and he comes up with a ball. Now he's 18 years old, the 8th man on our team. There were games that he did not play in. Okay, but he kept getting better, respect and whatever. 73,000 people, I think 28 or 29 million people watching on TV. And he gets the ball and he comes up and he yells, "Let's go!" And I wish I looked like him, but he's a stud. So he's rippled, you know. And then he says, and he's emotional, he says it again, "Let's go!" And it's like a thunderbolt. It hits me as a coach. I'm a better coach. It hits Tyus Jones as a better point guard. It hits Jahlil Okafor. We're all better. And we win the damn game. We won the national championship. Later that night, my wife Mickey and I, at that time we were married 46 years. And we get along, we have a good thing. And so I say to her, Mickey, it's the greatest thing in the world. We won because of one of our values, courage. 18 years old, this kid had the courage in front of all these people to just yell out, "Let's go." It's the best thing, and this is after Olympics and whatever, that's ever happened. I said, you know, I didn't have to draw a play. And she has a little bit of a needle, and she said, well, why didn't you? And I said, listen, hotshot, just hold it up. Let me finish my damn story here. Come on, let me, don't interrupt. And I said, no, really, Mickey, the best thing ever. And she said, No, it isn't. Okay. At this point, for all the gentlemen in the audience, pause. All right? Don't say anything right away. Because the next thing you say, you're going to be held accountable for. All right? But you have to say something, right? You're a guy, you have to say something. But you say it like, okay, what was more important? Beggar hands and whatever. And she says to me, well, obviously, it was because everyone listened. Damn. She was right. We won because two of our values, okay? And he had the courage to say it, but we respected everyone in our organization. And as a result, we won. As you move forward from these 4 days, be agile, be adaptable, hold people accountable, and develop that winning attitude. You know, reinforce the standards and how you work together where everyone owns it and can feel it. And really celebrate your values. And as you go home, hopefully you're able to go home a lot easier than it was to get here. Okay? I know it will be that, I promise you. I can assure you that it's going to be easier. And when you see your team and get with your team again, and practice it quietly on the plane, don't yell it out. But imagine, close your eyes and imagine yourself with your team and say, let's go! All right, thank you very much for everything. Thank you.